So back to Evil Hilton's machine. So Professor Hilton over there had made a bunch of changes and cleaned up the code, and he committed that to his local machine, and then he pushed that up to the hub, but I'm still not seeing anything on my end. And so I need to be able to go in and see those changes. And so, by the way, if this is not showing the get changes, you can always go in and say view and then say get changes to show this menu. So now we can see this view. Now currently I don't have anything, I haven't made any changes, nothing staged. I just went in and cloned the project to my local repository from GitHub, and now I want to go get any changes that have been made. And so to get changes that have been made, we use something called a pull. And so you'll notice we have these different options here. We have a fetch, we have a pull, we have a push, and then we have a sync, which is a pull first and then a push. Well, it's always, well, I can't say always, but typically we will want to pull before we push any code. We want to see what changes are coming. So we're going to pull this code, but there's the option before we pull anything to go fetch. Fetch will give us what changes occurred without actually doing anything to our local repository. And so I can go fetch, like I said, click that button, it goes out and looks and says, okay, you've got 2 incoming items that are waiting to come in. And if I look at the incoming items, I can see here that Professor Hilton modified the index to do something, and then he also cleaned up the project. And so I can determine, are those things that I want coming into my repository or not? Well, if everything looks good on the fetch, then I can do a pull. And when I pull the code, it's going to take a second, and it's going to bring in those changes. So now that it's done that, when I go back to my Solution Explorer and I go look, I should see that things like in the let's see, so the models are gone because I deleted that one file. It looks like it actually took out the folder. I can see in my index file, I can see that code change that's been done. Oh, was privacy the thing that I restored before? That must have been. And then I can look at the layout and see that it's changed. And so now that I've pulled the code down from GitHub, it's going to match whatever it is that's been pushed up there. Okay? And so you know, I can do things. I can go in and delete this file that I must have restored. I just didn't notice it. So I can click and delete that. And just say, you know, now that I've made a change, I can go back to my Git changes and it shows that I've made a change. I can click on this, it shows me what change has been made. I deleted the privacy file. And I can say, let's commit those changes. Well, what's the change about? Hey, you missed one. And then I can commit that to my local repository, and then when I'm ready, I can go push this up to the server. Now sync is not listed. It'll do a pull and then a push. Why was that grayed out? I was going to say maybe it knew there were no changes up at the server, but in any case, I can push this code and it pushes that information up to the server where we can then use it on the other end. Well, now, so if I go in and you know, make a bunch of changes, so if I'll close out of this and this. If I go into the index.html file and I start do a header here. Hey, I made a bunch of changes. So I go into this file, I make a bunch of changes. I can push those now up to the master, but this is the problem. So I'm the evil Hilton, obviously can't be trusted, and I'm going in and I'm making a bunch of changes to the program, and I'm just going to push them right up to the master. And this is not the ideal way to program. You picture, you know, a big, you know, website like you know, Amazon, and they've got their stuff written in ASP.NET and they're using GitHub and they're pushing this code. Now they're not using GitHub, by the way. Well, they might be. They probably have their own, I was thinking as Amazon, somebody like that, they probably have their own little service. But anyway, you picture that you want any old worker to be able to come in here, modify the code, and then push it up to the master and have that affect, what happens on the site. And the answer is no, we don't want to do that. And so we typically do not work out of the master. Typically, we create something called a branch, which we work on, and then there is somebody who is designated to go in and assemble the changes that have been made, to filter through them, and to merge them into the master repository. And so that's what we'll do next, is we'll go in and create a new branch that we'll work on, and then we'll merge those changes into the master. We'll do that in the next video because I have no idea what time we are at. Spencer, out.